Welcome to the OMG Talk podcast with Paul Finkelstein. Great advice and talk with small business owners, workaholics, and whiz-bang entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Paul Finkelstein.
And now you probably heard a button there. Look, now everybody is in their well-behaved manner because everybody heard the tone and it says 7 seconds. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Finkelstein. Welcome to Biz Leader Toastmasters, our 7th Toastmaster demonstration meeting. And we're going to give you a great show, whether there's 3 of us here or 300 people here. And usually the meeting starts off with a sergeant at arms. A lot of people, they hear that they mistake it for sergeant of arms or something like that, but the correct term, you can even Google it, is sergeant at arms. And try to spell sergeant, you probably have to Google that too, but I think I wrote it down over here too, Sergeant or Geant or something like that. On that note, somebody will probably correct me if they hear this audio. So our inspiration today will start with, usually if there's a newer Toastmaster at the club, instead of taking a speech, they could take a role like inspiration. And at the beginning of this meeting, in this 150-seat theater at the beach, remotely in our online cafe, they would give an inspirational message, like a very short quote. And I prepared a short inspiration for all of us today. It's a 4-word pep talk. Today's inspiration is you can do it. And you can do it. And next, I will move along to our Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know whether you did that last time or not. I'm not heard if you did or didn't. But
I don't think so.
And some online clubs don't include it because maybe there's not a big flag standing. But because Ralph Smedley started Toastmasters in the U.S., I think the first club was in California, but it was in October 22, close to my birthday, which is the 28th of October. But October 22, 1924. He started the clubs with the Pledge of Allegiance, and even the Pledge of Allegiance is a short little speech. Sometimes we could put it up on the screen because sometimes when people are speaking on camera, you could, make a mistake or something, and I wouldn't want to make a mistake doing the Pledge of Allegiance, even though I say it tons of times at 7 years in a row, every week at a Toastmaster meeting. And even though we're sitting and we're in front of a camera, you can't tell if we're standing or sitting. And when we stand, we end up looking at each other's belly buttons on the camera if I asked you guys all to stand. But, you could make it look like you're standing and say with me the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of Ralph Smedley, who started Toastmasters in 1924 on October 22. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
I could see that our Wi-Fi is a little bit behind one another's because I had Mia coming in after me and then Sherry somewhere in the middle and then myself. And I know if we were saying at the same time in the same room, it would definitely be at the same time.
Yes.
And thank you guys all for participating in that. Even if we had somebody else from another country, I don't mind them standing up and they could give us their equivalent to the pledge. The word of the day, I picked a positive word that I actually got from my local Toastmaster club that meets in person. And their word of the day just last Wednesday was impassioned. And that's spelled impassioned, impassioned. And it means emotional. And every single speaker that spoke at that Toastmaster meeting last Wednesday was speaking in an impassioned tone. Everything was full of emotion. Everybody's table topic, evaluation, and speech. So if you could try to use the word impassioned in when you're called upon, even if you squeeze it into your timer roll, I dare you. And now the president, I would switch from my sergeant at arms role to the president pro tem, which is temporary president until we become a founding club or charter club of Toastmasters officially. But because I've been a Toastmaster for over 7 years and went every week for 7 years in a row, I did take a couple of years off to focus on my business. And actually, I feel kind of relieved to be back officially as a member and got my membership number didn't change, same number, and it shows my educational credentials that I accomplished through Toastmasters. One distinguished Toastmaster award, the highest award that you achieve in Toastmasters, that half of 1% even achieve in 145 countries and 130 different districts. Just our district alone in Southeast Florida to the Treasure Coast or Space Coast down on to Bahamas is like over 4,000 Toastmaster members that meet in person. And they're right now doing a Toastmasters Leadership Institute where twice a year in the spring and the fall, they have leadership institutes that help you learn the roles for the different club officers. And every club has 7 club officers. So I'd ask you to think about, I would really, the obvious one that I'm going to encourage and inspire and pray that Sherry takes as treasurer, because that way it makes it less compliance oriented for Paul in the investment business. Because they'll make me put stuff on my FINRA application if I was treasurer. And like, it's a lot of money to worry about because money comes in from, $60 in dues every 6 months. And there's not a lot of, money to deal with here. But, people learn about the roles of being treasurer. So as president, the only main job that the president does in this meeting and the club I came from was to run the introductions. And of course, they represent the club as president. But when the president's called upon from the Sergeant Arms, I would ask you guys to just say where you're from. Have you ever heard of Toastmasters? And say your city that you're in now. So, with those in mind, Sherry, you can go first and tell us your whole name, and why not throw in what you do and where you're from and where you are now.
My name is Sherry White. I am from New York originally, and now I live in Lake Worth, Florida. What I do?
Sure, why not?
I am a tax accountant.
We got more information about you. We have our investigative hats on. And now, Mia, tell us where you're from, where you are at now, and what do you do? Mia?
My name is Mia Hartzman. I am Detroit born. Currently, I reside on the outskirts of Detroit metropolitan area, 45 minutes away near the airport in Inkster, Michigan. I am currently a travel agent, and I'm an inspiring travel agent. So I'm fairly new to the travel industry, and I just launched a podcast, an audio podcast that is full of travel and travel stories. It's called Missy Prez Travels. And I also own my home-based travel agency, Mere Travels.
And welcome. And by the way, we could add a little clap or two for Sherry and for you, Mia. And then I'll follow up our introductions. I'm Paul Finkelstein. You met me before. We met you before. I'm from Delray Beach, Florida, originally from New City, New York, which is often confused with New York City. But New City is outside of New York City, about a half hour north of the George Washington Bridge. I'm in Delray Beach, if I didn't say that yet, and I'm in the financial services area, specifically investments, life insurance, and annuities. And now we'll go to the Toastmaster of the day. And so far I did the Sergeant at Arms, and then I did the president, the club president, and now I'm going to be your Toastmaster of the day. So that's 3 hats so far. There are 3 different parts to our Toastmaster meeting. There's prepared speeches, where our speakers work diligently to prepare their speeches from week to week. If you're a Toastmaster, you know that it's always good to have a speech in the back of your back pocket, because you never know if somebody prepares their speech for today and something comes up. It's always good to have backup. I learned that in my prior business as a photographer. It was good to have multiple batteries and multiple cameras. So why not have backup in case you have 3 instead of 20 people here? So the Toastmaster of the day, we have prepared speeches. We have impromptu speeches, which are table topics, which is meant not to stump anybody, but to actually help people think on their feet and give them some challenge for how to pivot and segue. So if somebody gives a topic, you could take a breath and you could talk about an entirely different topic, or you could talk about the topic that was given you. But impromptu, you'll generally hear you'll hear a topic, and then we'll call upon the speaker. So that way, between the 3 of us, at least the first 2 will be completely impromptu. And then the third one, if there's the third left, whoever the topic is, whatever the topic is, it's going to be that person. Of course, you could probably even do some creative idea, and you could purposely call upon somebody else to fake us all out, I suppose. But the deal is not to fake anybody out here. It's to help us think on our feet. So we can go 1, 2, 3 when we get to that part. And then the third part of the meeting is evaluations. We'll do 1 evaluation and one speech. I have a speech that I could do, but unless you guys want to practice and do a 4 to 6 minute introduction about your business, we could do 3 speeches here today. Or do you want to get out a little bit early? If I say that, I hesitate to want to say get out early. But Mia, do you want to practice and give a 4 to 6 minute speech about your why you got into your field?
I would love to.
You do? Okay, so she is willing and able. And how about you, Sherry? Or do you want to be 2 speeches?
Sure, why not?
Sure,
Why
okay.
not?
So we got 3 speeches. So I'll go last and do a 5 to 7 minute speech, but I'm going to let you guys talk for 4 to 6 minutes. Why is that? Because the 4 to 6 minutes generally is an icebreaker speech introducing yourself to the club. And that's the first speech in the pathway for Toastmasters. And I think you get 2 pathways when you first join the club. Maybe the membership might come with the first pathway, and then you have to get the other pathway. But between the 2 pathways, it'll take some time to complete it. And after doing 2 pathways, it's about over 50 speeches. But between the table topics and those speeches, and then volunteering to serve your district that hopefully we would be part of, then you could earn your Distinguished Toastmaster, and you'll learn all about coaching and mentoring, and then you could pay it forward and help start a Toastmasters club as well, should you choose. All right, so where are we? Now, we talked about general evaluations. Yes, so the evaluation portion is about, I'm still in the role of Toastmaster of the evening. And the third part is evaluations, where you learn what you did well and what can be improved upon. The general evaluator also evaluates the overall of the meeting. So with that in mind, there's, different aspects, and the general evaluator, has instant feedback for Toastmasters. So we don't have to even worry about one of those feedback evaluations at the end of the meeting. The general evaluator, his job is to listen throughout the entire meeting and see what we did well and what could be improved for overall and how we did as a meeting. All right. So, I can't do the meeting by myself because there are helpers. And to help remember those helpers, I wrote the word tag on my paper, which is T for timer, A for counter, and G for word grammarian. We gave the word of the day, which the grammarian would bring a word generally, instead of me having to do all the roles and supply the word as well. So we'll start with the timer, and the timer's duty would generally say my job. The timer doesn't have to at this point in the meeting go into the timing lights and holding things up and things like that. The timer would just say my job is to keep track of all time during the meeting, which we know the speeches, the table topics, and the evaluations. They just say when called upon for timer, my job is to keep track of all time during the meeting. So if Sherry's going to do timer, you could say, well, what is your duty as timer, Sherry?
My job is to keep track of all time during the meeting.
And then we all clap for you. Congratulations.
Because I remembered what to say.
Excellent. And then we have the counter. And your job, Mia, is to keep track of filler words during the entire meeting. You said them, but you don't have to ring a bell constantly. You could, if somebody, not during the prepared speeches also, just during the table topics or the evaluation portion, you could ring a bell 1 or 2 times during each speaker, but you don't have to ring it past them because then it can get a little bit, a newer speaker, or it could be distracting. So like if you have a bell handy or something that you could just next to you, maybe there's some glass on your desk and go, this doesn't make a big noise, but.
Are you catching his likes?
Yeah, and are you catching my likes? Thank you very much. So make sure, Mia, tell us now your duty as counter is what? Tell us now.
My duty as counter is to count the filler words such as like, and the words that are said multiple times as if it is a stutter, but it's not a stutter, it's just a repeat. And I believe I am to bell it if it happens.
Yes, you could use a bell. Your audio went off, though. You must have tapped on your screen by accident, or maybe it's a glitch in the software. Either one of those. I hear you now. I see that your mic is working.
No, I hit the mute. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll applaud you.
Hit the mute button.
Thank you for volunteering to be on counter. And then the duties of grammarian, I'll follow up with that to say, since I already as sergeant at arms and my other roles, president and toastmaster of the evening, and now the third part of tag or the helpers for our meeting that the toastmaster needs, word grammarian. And the word grammarian's job, you would repeat this when the toastmaster asks for your duties, is to keep track of the use of language during the meeting, how many times people say the word of the day, which is impassioned. So if you had said it up until this point, great. If you want to try to say it in your speeches or your table topics, then I almost said I was like a half filler word right there. Okay, so let me clear my throat, and that's when they develop some rap songs. Okay, so the word grammarian is, I'm just trying to pivot and segue to save my butt as best as I can. The word grammarian, it keeps track of the use of language during a meeting and the use of how many times you use the word of the day, which is impassioned. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening. Hi, everybody. I'm the Toastmaster of the evening. You've now heard from our 3 helper roles that help run a Toastmaster meeting. And now we will go to the first part of our meeting, which is table topics. And with table topics, we learn to think on our feet. It's not meant to stump anybody. I'm saying this for the benefit, not necessarily of us, but maybe of somebody that might hear this if I put it on 50 different social media platforms to make us all famous, but no, to help people understand the engine that runs from a full Toastmaster meeting. So learning the art of pivoting and segueing. So when you hear a topic, it could be you that it'll be called upon. You could take a deep breath. You could say, what's the topic again? And allow them to purposely repeat it. Not that you might not have heard it, but it actually gives you a chance to formulate what you're going to say, your first couple of words. It's a good technique. And another good technique is if you could actually think of a question to start your speeches, even in table topics, it's a good way to start a speech because it really does engage the audience by doing a question. The timing parameters for table topics, I'll ask our timer Sherry to tell us in 1.5, and 2 minutes how that works for timing for table topics.
At 1 minute, you'll get the green. At 1.5, you get the yellow. At 2, you get the red. And at 2.5, we'll clap you off.
And I don't mind you guys saying that, and I think I've heard it in many of clubs, but I do want to not scare future Toastmasters so much that we will technically not clap somebody off if they go at more than 2.5 minutes. I mean, we could clap, and if all of us are clapping, they will get the hint, and they'll actually get lots of extra applause. And where are you going to get that much applause in the real world? So maybe it's a good thing to clap somebody off on that note because they're getting instant recognition. But if somebody wants to keep talking, well, hopefully they get the hint when they see the green, the yellow, the red, and the extra applause that leads to them being clapped off. So now that we have the timing parameters, I will turn the meeting over to our table topic master of the evening, Sherry White.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. I had to figure out which hat you were wearing.
Or evening.
Okay. Or evening. Okay. So now I just used 2 filler words. Where do you find inspiration, Mia?
I find inspiration through the love of my daughter's eyes. My heart gets impassioned every time I see her loving eyes look up at me. When she asks me a question that is very hard to answer, when she talks to me in a very heartfelt way, and mostly when she tells me, I love you, mommy. I love you, mommy gives me the inspiration to go ahead and do the things that I need to do in life. The hard work, the working hard from early in the morning to the wee hours of the night. The breaking of of a said it twice. The breaking of the hard labor is very impassioned in so many ways for me because she gives me a gentle spirit that always makes me feel beautiful.
I think she's concluded, Sherry.
She has, and I got
I'm
my
sorry, was
colors.
that 2 minutes?
I got
Was
all
that
my
2 minutes?
colors mixed up. It was 1:45.
Okay.
I failed to look at Sherry. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Excellent. Yes. Okay. If we learn from our mistakes, why are we always so afraid to make a mistake, Paul?
Wow. That's deep. At the same time, it sounds like an impromptu table topic that you thought of 3 seconds ago. Wow. That's a loaded question. At the same time, I love it. So, fellow future Toastmasters to be, most welcome guests, and table topic master Sherry. All I know is that if you aren't afraid to make mistakes, then try not to make the same mistake again a second time. But how many times do we make another mistake a third time that's the same mistake that you made before? And has everybody ever made it again for a fifth time? And has everybody ever made that same mistake that you did the first time for a sixth time? And then it gets into that famous definition. Did you ever do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? That, my friends, is the definition of insanity. I've heard that at business meetings. Has anybody ever heard that expression before? Doing the same mistake over and over again, expecting different results? The definition of insanity. And one mistake that I would like to say is when you learn to be an entrepreneur and you learn to be a business owner, yet you keep wanting to go to the safety and be an employee and have a guaranteed paycheck. And then which one sounds more exciting? But maybe the freedom of being your own boss is exciting, and then maybe being an employee and getting guaranteed paycheck is exciting. But I feel like the entrepreneur and the business owner is way more exciting. But thank you for letting me mull over in my head the definition of insanity and the word mistake. But a journey begins with one step. Thank you, Table Topic Master Sherry. Let's try also something else, Sherry. I noticed that my picture at the bottom is on the lectern. So if I actually click on a seat in the middle, and you could tap on the lectern at the bottom, so you could take control of the lectern as Table Topic Master.
You want me to do that? I'll do that.
So tap on the lectern, one of the bubbles, where the podium and lectern are. The podium is what you stand on. The lectern is.
I know what a podium and a lectern are.
Okay. I love pointing that out for the newer people that are not necessarily in the room, by the way, so I'm not pointing to you. Are you able to click on the bubble?
I'm looking for the bubble. There's no bubble that's right on there.
There's three right around it. There's one by the base.
I see it.
There you go.
I got it.
Okay, so now we have
the bubble
in control of the lectern. You could continue with table topics for a little bit longer.
Okay. If life is so short, why do we do so many things we don't like and like so many things we don't do? And I'm taking that one. Not that I have any idea how I'm going to answer it.
Can you repeat the question?
Did I repeat the question?
Even though it's not part of your speech.
That's what, no, I was going to say that's what makes this a challenge. I think that what ends up happening is when it comes to why we do so many things we don't like. My timer's not starting. Okay. Why we do so many things we don't like and don't like so many of the things that we do because we're not looking at the length of time we have. That doesn't usually happen until somebody has a fatal disease or starts to get older. and they're starting to look at their life and what they've accomplished. The way I see this, life is short. It's very short by other means. It would make us happier if we did the things that made us happy, but we all know it doesn't work that way. Sometimes the things we choose to do are out of necessity. Those are not necessarily always the things that we like. So I would have to say that is why, because life is so short, why we still do so many things we don't like and like so many things we don't do. It's not intentional. Thank you. I have no clue what I said.
You know what? I will offer you a little tip, though, even before the evaluation portion, which is
Go ahead.
you shouldn't be thanking us as a speaker. We should be thanking you. I heard it as one little tip from one speaker in my early Toastmaster meetings that at the end of a speech, you might tend to want to say, "Thank you for letting me speak," but the audience should be thanking us for speaking.
Okay.
Just a little words of wisdom that I picked up from somewhere, but where there are exceptions to every rule.
So let me ask this question.
Okay.
When we are finished speaking, how do we let everybody else know? I mean, Mia finished her table topic.
Like when you're done, Mia could have said, Toastmaster. She could end by saying Toastmaster. Just
That's it?
like one word or something like that. She could end by ending with a nice conclusion, which takes practice with speaking. We're all working on that. To conclude with some more, end on a high note, takes practice. And maybe you could have had a moral to the story. And when you tell the moral to the story, then we know that it's ended versus just stopping dead in our tracks, which obviously comes with practice. But you could also say, like, the news anchors, sometimes you hear a cliche and they say, "Back to you, Chuck." I mean, it sounds such a cliche that I wish people would stop using it. And I'm sure people have for that reason, because it starts to be a cliche. So if we say it too much, then I guess it's time to move on. But I think the more powerful ones are just to say Toastmaster, or table topic master, since we're in table topics. You could say table topic master, Sherry. And that.
Okay, but what do I say?
And so you're done. You could be schizophrenic, I guess, and just say table topic master. And then you say, "Thank you, Sherry." That's not me, not the waiting room, because I left the waiting room. So somebody's
No. That's I have to get that's my business phone.
It rings through the computer?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to do one more table topic, or do you want to continue? Okay.
You tell me.
Do one more. That way we don't know where it's going.
Okay. What is your most beloved childhood memory, Paul?
My beloved childhood memory. I don't know about beloved, but one of the incidences that comes up when I was about 6 years old, my parents brought me to a day camp for the summer. I further learned that day camp was like respite care for parents at work. so the kids wouldn't run around the house and break things or get into trouble at the house. So they sent me to camp. It was a day camp. It was more affordable than going to sleepaway camp. And at that day camp, right before, like 2 hours before the buses were to take us home, they brought us to the playground. And on the playground was a piece of equipment that looked like a tractor. It was nailed to the ground. It couldn't move. It had all the parts that you can get into trouble, you would think. But Paul figured out how to pull everything apart in this metal tractor. It had a gear shift. You could pretend to steer it. And I'm like, my head was down like this, and I'm pulling on the thing, and I'm pulling and pulling and pulling. And next thing you know, I'm running over to my counselor, and I said, ouch. All I said was, ouch. And my counselor looked at me, and there was blood coming all down my head. And I must have pulled something that the top of my head banged into some metal gear shift or something. He looks at me, and it looked like my entire head was, instead of dirty blonde, it was red. And he took me to my pediatrician, and my mother met us there. And Paul got into trouble even at being at camp, and he could have been at home getting into trouble, I suppose. I was a learn by doing kind of person versus if the teacher tells you what to do, and then I didn't absorb it, and then the teacher maybe add some gestures and things we learn at Toastmasters, and I could learn a little bit more. But if the teacher or the camp counselor showed me how to use this apparatus, this tractor, this thing in the playground so I wouldn't get hurt, then maybe I would have learned it even better. So the moral of the story is some of us learn by being shown and doing at the same time, like Paul. Maybe you're one of those. Table topic master Sherry. Oh, do you see how that worked?
You showed us exactly how it works. If a doctor gave you 5 years to live, what would you try to accomplish, Mia?
If a doctor gave me 5 years to live, I will do my best to accomplish traveling the world. As you all know, I am a travel agent. So, being a travel agent, I get to experience a lot of familiarization trips. And familiarization trips are trips that are offered to travel agents at a discounted price. Mostly resorts offer familiarization trips where we could visit new resorts, get a synopsis of it, and then we could relay that information to our clients. Traveling the world for me makes me feel like I can do anything. I can conquer the world if I properly travel it. And that will be my life's mission. My very last 5 years of a life mission is to travel. I will go to Bali, Indonesia. I will go to Argentina. I will go to Italy, of course, Paris, and I will go to Tokyo, Japan. I will go to a lot of hidden spaces as well, like in Peru. And in Peru, what I would do is learn culinary um, cooking, and I will learn how to drink the finest of wines. I think I will live my life like Prince said, like it's 1999. I will party hard, and partying hard for me is basically being in a villa and having a nice band play the best music in the vibe of my choosing, which is usually maybe acoustic guitar and violin music. And I will party very hard. I will live hard with my family, and for the base part of that, I will be very impassioned if I had to live only 5 years and not able to travel the world. Toastmaster Sherry.
Perfect.
Okay.
You want to stop?
I can go or I could not go. It doesn't matter to me.
Go and not go. That is the question. Sounds very philosophical. So philosophy.
Right. Philosophical.
Philosophical. Thank you.
If I had to do something philosophical, I would be quite impassioned about it.
I'm so glad that you got in the word impassioned. As we conclude with the table topics impromptu session and go into our prepared speeches. Now
Okay,
I know that our speakers today prepared so diligently for this prepared topic session. But before we do that, we have to award somebody the best table topic of the evening. And we could, there's no way to do a private, I said a filler word, I know. If you guys all could think of all the topics we just did and just think of the person that gave the best table topic, and then everybody yell out all together, Mia Hartman.
Mia Hartman is exactly what I was
is our best table topic speaker for today, because she also used the word of the day, impassioned, in her last speech. So congratulations, Mia. You'll get a certificate. They'll float around social media until it's just going to stop. It won't stop. And now, congratulations, Mia. As you're not even a full Toastmaster yet. In a demonstration meeting, I know you're beating a lot of those Toastmasters and all those clubs that are official. So we will be official soon. I feel like we're a Toastmasters in training, if you will. Well, you guys are. But I want you guys to be a full, and that's why we're going to get this club chartered. So you don't have to join another club, but a club here that's in the theater by a beach at your house without having to go anywhere. So now the second part of our meeting is prepared speeches, and our speakers today have prepared diligently for these speeches. Matter of fact, the reason why I know that all three of these speakers have prepared diligently is because they're going to talk about three different topics that they have lived, and they're going to bring in a personal story. And a personal story is what makes the most unbelievable speech. Even the international speech contest that this August, in a month, they're going to have the international convention in Philadelphia this year. I just saw on social media, on LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you ever look up on YouTube, international speech contest for Toastmasters, and see some samples, even if there's one on your screens now on the left side that if you played it, I wouldn't hear it unless your speakers were turned up. But where it says world on the left side is a sample world champion speaker. And when you listen to that after, so you get a flavor for it, that those speeches are 5 to 7 minutes long. But you're going to talk for 4 to 6 minutes, introducing yourself to the club and the world, just like that world champion speaker. And you're going to talk from a personal experience, because what other personal experience is great than what you do every day, your job or your business? And as small business owner, there's 10 million small business owners on one of the major platforms called Alignable. There's also tons of small business owners on Skylar Network. There's tons of small business owners and people in careers on LinkedIn. So there's lots of small business people. And this next speaker, her name is Mia Hartman. And she told us she's from the Detroit, Michigan area. and she loves to travel. If you couldn't tell her love for travel by her table topics, and she is our table topic champion for the evening, she will talk for 5 to 7 minutes about why she started her travel business and how she did that to start it. And before she does that, the timer will tell us the timing parameters for a 5 to 7 minute speech. 5, 6, 7. What happens?
5 minutes, 6 minutes, whoops, 7 minutes.
Without the oops.
Without the oops.
Timer Sherry, thank you very much. We applaud you for that. Help me bring up to the virtual stage, which, by the way, Sherry went back into the audience, and you see how I'm now in the lectern. We always have to have somebody at the lectern like I am. So I'm going to leave the lectern and allow Mia to take her spot at the lectern. You can click on the bubble so we can see you're now in control of the audience. There she is. Mia Hartman, take it away. Travel and why you started your travel and how you're doing that in 4 to 6 minutes. Did I say 5 to 7? I meant 4 to 6. Go ahead. I won't make you do the timer again. 4, 5, and 6.
Hi, my name is Mia Hartman, and I developed a passion for travel years ago as an elementary school student. I lived in Detroit, Michigan, and was born and raised there, and I was able to meet lots of children that were like me at the time of elementary, and we had a passion for travel because of what our parents would say to us and what they would watch on television. One of the programs that they watched was BBC television, and BBC television was basically a news broadcast that covered the news all over the world. And then in from elementary, I moved to the Wayne State University campus in Detroit, Michigan in middle school. And in middle school, I started getting friends from all over the world. So it was basically the stars had lined up for me because I was already embraced in world culture through BBC. And I failed to mention that we also watched a lot of PBS and the public broadcasting station that covered a lot of world culture, from cooking shows to mystery shows that were done in England. I don't know if you recall Mr. Bean, and we watched that a lot as elementary students. But as middle school students, we did a lot of eating. I ate the fine cuisines from Chinese food to African food, and I developed a nice taste of the finer things of the world. So after that, I I became an adult, and I started working with surgeons that were coming over from all over the world as well, and I was able to converse with them, and they had gave me more of a passion for world travel because of the stories that they would tell about their families and how they came to the United States. So when they told me about how they lived and how they were determined to come to the United States and how they wanted to give back to their community and things of that nature, I wanted to visit those countries. Some of those countries were Bali, Thailand, Tokyo, Japan. There was also there was also there were also surgeons from Africa, which was South Africa, and there were surgeons from the South America as well. After I worked with those surgeons, I decided to become a travel agent, and I built a at-home based travel agency. And so it's just barely getting its foot off the ground. I have to do a lot of research and a lot of programming within my website in order to cultivate beautiful travel for like I did, to eat fine cuisine, go to places that are lovely and with like-minded people, listen to great music on the beach shores of the Atlantic, and also going to South Africa, great cuisine there, learning and enjoying the cold countries that I would love to travel to is Argentina. And I believe the reason why I'm so impassioned about Argentina is because of the movie Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. I believe that's the title of it. I'm not sure, but that was one of the songs. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is, I never left you. That story there, I have to revisit in order to get the story corrected. But I love it. I love the fineness of that story. In conclusion, I was a young child learning about the world, and as an adult, I became more impassioned about traveling the world. Toastmaster Sherry.
Actually, it's Toastmaster Paul.
Correct.
Not table topics
I
anymore.
forgot for a second that I'm the Toastmaster of the evening.
Toastmaster Paul, sorry.
Right. I was busy enjoying your speech as well. I'm looking forward to what the evaluator has to say about your speech, which there are a lot of amazing points. So I look forward to the evaluation session, the third part of our meeting. So let's give Mia a good round of applause, and then you could take your seat back into the audience, and I'll resume control of the lectern. If you tap on any of the seats, you could even be in the panel behind the you could choose one of these seats back here where you see my
She's next
face.
to me.
But
She's sitting next to me.
Excellent. Yes. So a piece of a pod. Yes. The speakers. Now you have some common ground. Now you are international speakers in international waters at the beach here. Our next speaker is going to tell an amazing personal story about why she started her business and how she did it. Because I know that there's a future accounting business owner out there that needs some encouragement and an inspiration, and you could be it. On that note, I will switch places with you, and you'll take the lectern, and I'll take a seat in the audience. And let's help me welcome and bring up onto stage Sherry White from Lantana, Florida, or Lake Worth, Florida, and she's formerly from New City, New York. No, Spring Valley, New York. Spring Valley, New York. She will share with us her insights on how she got into business. Sherry White.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, honored guests. I like to tell people that I'm a second-generation tax accountant. I learned a lot of what I know helping my dad. My favorite story to tell is my dad did taxes as a side hustle before side hustle was a thing. That's what I like to say. Before that term was a thing, he had that as a second job. My mother would help him by sending out letters. It was in the late 1960s that I could remember. So there wasn't internet that we could use to send an email to his regular client. So she would send a letter, and that letter would tell people when they needed to file their return by. I think this was also in a time before extensions, because my mother more recently would say to me, "What are you working so hard? What are you doing? Tax season is over." And I would say to her, "Mom, tax season doesn't end till October 15th, and sometimes it feels like it doesn't end at all." What my father did that I consider my entree into not so much the tax prep profession, but my entree into working for in the field, I guess. He told a client of his that it would be beneficial to them if they hired, is the way I would word it, if they hired someone who could post their cash receipts and cash disbursements into the ledger books. Again, no computer. We were doing it by hand. My father said, this being the time before even answering machines, so if somebody called your business and you didn't answer the phone, they would move on to the next business in the yellow pages. Remember those? What I ended up doing is I ended up working for that client. Their office was right across the street from my high school. So at the end of the day, I would go there and I'd work for a few hours. I'd make appointments. It was a driving school. So I also got the benefit of when it was time for me to take my driving test, I could take that class that you had to take directly from my boss and not have to pay for it. An interesting way to be doing things. I would schedule appointments. I would post cash receipts and the cash disbursements. And that went on for about a year until the business owner had a heart attack. Thank God, not a fatal one, but it was a heart attack nonetheless. And his doctor recommended that he retire from that kind of work. So he did. And that left me at 17 asking, wanting to ask whether you want fries with that. because that's what the job that my friends were going for. McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's. The problem was I was overqualified to ask if you want fries with that. So I went to college and took an accounting class. This was during the summer. And that's how my entree into the accounting profession actually began. My father would teach me how to do different types of tax returns, mostly simple. And then I was able to do them for friends and family. So when I decided that this is what I wanted to ultimately do, I had a decision to make. Do I take a test? Or do I take the class? And because you don't know what you don't know. So by taking the class, I learned a few things. That is how I became a tax professional, and I love what I do. Mr. Toastmaster.
Yay! Good job, Sherry. Everybody could applause. This is something that happens at a really great Toastmaster meeting. The more applause, it is instant recognition, so the speaker hears it. Feel free also to, after the speech, to put some comments in the chat. This is another thing, too, as we grow, to ask for some instant feedback from the other members, to say something in the chat, what you liked about Sherry's speech, so that it's not just the evaluator that Sherry is hearing from, but all the other members, what good things that you got from the speech, what you liked, what you learned, perhaps. Our third speaker will be 5 to 7 minutes, and we know what that parameter is in interest of time because Sherry said it in the beginning before I took away a minute from you guys to talk for 4 to 6 minutes. And this speaker is Paul Finkelstein. It's not like you've never heard of him before. You know where he's from. You've been meeting him on and off here in the beach in this wonderful 150-seat indoor theater. His name is Paul Finkelstein, and he's going to talk about how to start a new Toastmasters club. And then it's not so foreign for him, and he's no stranger to doing that. So you are in good hands, like as if you had a whitewater rafting raft, and you're going down a class 5 raft, and you need a professional guide to take you through all of the bumps that go along the way. Otherwise, it could be dangerous. Public speaking just as much as going whitewater rafting. I wouldn't want you to get a bump on your head while you're delivering your speech remotely in the most comfortable seat you have in your own house. But it could happen. And we want to make sure that you're just as comfortable here as you are in that raft as well. So help me welcome Paul Finkelstein. Yay, I clap for myself too. They say not to like yourself on Facebook and not to hit the like button on LinkedIn for yourself. But now I'm clapping for myself. Okay. I say I don't mind when people do that. I think it adds an extra like, and you're also excited. So why not maybe inspire the same energy you have and like your own post? What the heck? Some people, they don't like it. The heck with that.
Be impassioned about it.
Right. Be impassioned about it. And we're small enough that I don't mind there being a little tad bit of interruption. But I do know that there's a couple of things here of suggestions or tips and things about why have a brand new Toastmasters club when there's already hundreds of Toastmasters clubs around the world in 145 different countries. So why another one? Well, the number one reason why is because there's not a Toastmasters club yet in this environment, with this beach, with this resort, with this 150 feet theater. It doesn't look like Zoom. It certainly doesn't look like Google. It doesn't look like Google Meet. It doesn't look like Teams. So I think maybe this Skylar Network platform, I think that if Ron wanted to, I think that he should, tease them and make Microsoft want to pay for this beach platform hundreds of billions of dollars, because here we are. I could have that potential, right? Let me plant a seed. Let him hear me later on. Maybe somebody will hear this, right? And they're going to want to contact Ron right away. So I could be indirectly helping him, hopefully not hurting. So let's see. I'm looking for existing Toastmasters, because an existing Toastmaster can be a part of our club, and they have an incentive because usually at a club that's 25 members, the speeches go in cycles. So we're lucky that we could talk and give multiple speeches here with fewer members. But when you get 25 and 40 members, and I got my first online club up to 100 members. And of course, some people come because of their schedules, and some people come regularly, and some people come, a certain routine, and they come every week. We do want you to come every week, because the more you get to practice, the better you are in your public speaking. But existing Toastmaster members can get more speeches in and work toward their distinguished Toastmaster. And you're allowed to have a dual membership. You could have a dual membership in as many clubs that you could afford or want to pay. If you want to join 5 clubs and you want to talk in each of those clubs, every time you join a new club, you don't know the people in that club yet. And if there's a good fit and you join another club, it gives you a chance to talk in a group where you know everybody, and go to another club and talk in a group where you don't know anybody. And when you go multiple times to other clubs, once you get to know them, sometimes people join a brand new club because now you're getting experience talking to an audience. So there's all kinds of reasons. More speech practice. You could be a charter founding member of this club. So there are other clubs, but now you could be a charter founding member of our club here, OMG Biz Cafe, the pool, the beach, and we're also global. We could be anywhere around the world. Let's see, what else? So distinguished Toastmaster candidates, those Toastmasters that are already a Toastmaster at a club anywhere around the world, and the time zone works for them, they will be called, we're looking for club coaches or club mentors. And they have to actually be a mentor or a coach with our club for 12 months. And it kind of takes some of the other roles, like as a team effort. So the poll doesn't have to be Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster of the Day, President Pro Tem, Table Topic Master. Well, we had one today, Table Topic Master. Thank you for Sherry for having the guts to leave the ruts and doing on a new role that you've done for a few weeks now. Then there's General Evaluator, and if I had some more help from other Toastmasters, they could be General Evaluator and Evaluator. But by being a member of other Toastmaster clubs, I got practice doing all of those roles. It may be challenging to multitask, but in the real world, when you're running a meeting at a company, think of those people that don't have that experience at a big company, and they might send them to a temporary training where they have some kind of crash course for 6 weeks on how to be a Toastmaster, 6 weeks on how to be an amazing speaker. But you know as well as I know that you learn by doing. So if you know a company that wants to get better communicators and have more performance, they need a sales trainer. I think a Toastmaster would be a perfect sales trainer at any company. I invite anybody listening today, if they hear me, challenged me to be a sales trainer for your company. I'm not Tony Robbins, so don't worry about having to pay the big bucks for me. As my wife says, like, what do you know about sales training? Sometimes she says that. Maybe we're also extra critical on ourselves. But what I do know is that I inspire people, and just as well as you inspire people. You have to inspire people to travel. You have to inspire people to do the taxes right and to save money on taxes and pay just the right amount and not pay too much. And all those good things and some things I'm sure I'm not thinking of. Look, others might want to join our Toastmasters Club because they want some more fun in their lives. Maybe they're tired of the boring Netflix series that they're watching. Maybe they are tired of cable TV and they just can come here. So if you know someone that could cancel their cable and come here and watch this screen, because this could be on their TV also. They have Wi-Fi. They could be in our meeting. And I don't know how you do it on your TV. And you type in the website, omgtalk.com. Click on Paul. I have one link now, Paul's Calendly and the whole enchilada. And when you click on the whole enchilada, the guest link comes right here. So it's easily, if you know any guests, tell them to go to omgtalk.com. So help our club grow and bring one guest next Monday at 5:30 Eastern Time. We'll charter faster and sooner. Toastmaster Paul. Hi there. Thank you. Good job, Paul. I'm not schizophrenic. Yes, I am. Okay. And now I'm going to bring up our general evaluator, and he's going to tell us what the general evaluator does. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul, the general evaluator. So I'm not just a plumber, the candlestick maker, the court gesture, the judge, the mailman. I am not just a sergeant at arms, the president. I am not just a Toastmaster of the evening, but I am now your general evaluator. And my job as general evaluator is to keep notice and make notes of how our meeting is going and look around and make sure everybody's happy. Maybe there's some technical issues. If there's a technical issue, make sure you get a message to the general evaluator. Actually, the technical issue is to the sergeant at arms, and they're in charge of all of the room and the physical plant and all those things. General evaluator, just for the feedback. The point of the evaluations is to see what we did well and what can be improved upon. So the evaluations will be 2 minutes. We'll start at 2 minutes at the green, 2.5 at the yellow, and 3 minutes at the red. And we'll evaluate all of us in one evaluation to an interest of time. Instead of me doing 3 separate ones, I'm going to do one evaluation for all of us. 2 minutes, 2.5, and 3. And Sherry, tell us how that works with the timing cards.
2 minutes at green, 2.5 at yellow, and 3 at red, or red at 3.
As I take the lectern. Thank you, Sherry. The timer, the yaw counter, and the grammarian, it's okay if they stand up in place or where you are or sit in place, and you could tell you don't have to come up to the lectern. Save time. Thank you, Sherry. We'll applaud her. Okay. And as general evaluator, I'll introduce the first evaluator and our only evaluator to evaluate all of our speeches for today. Just trying to save time and do one for all the 3 of us. Help me welcome Paul Finkelstein, your evaluator of the evening. Hi, everybody. I'm not going to add any extras because I only have so much time to evaluate. Most welcome guests and fellow Toastmasters to be and Toastmasters listening. The evaluations is not just for the speaker, but it's for everybody. We could all learn how to improve, and it's meant to evaluate the delivery versus the content. And that's one of the misconceptions of evaluating is that somebody's expecting to get some criticism. But when you're evaluating the delivery and not the content, then you're not really here to attack somebody. You're just here to give them some positive feedback and maybe a tip to improve. The Oreo cookie method or sandwich method, you can Google it and learn more about them to save time and describe how those go. Both or all three of our speakers had great vocal variety. They showed interest in their topics because they talked about what they know best by a personal story. Paul started a Toastmasters club before, and you could tell that he was excited to start another one as we're doing here today. The same thing with Sherry with her taxes. I mean, I really had a question off the tip of my tongue that I wanted to know how old she was when she was working with her dad, if she was like 12 or 10 years old, or if you could nod your head if I'm close, like 13 or 14, 15, a little older. Okay, so it was older than I thought. I just pictured you being really advanced by the time you had to go get a job. So you all had enthusiasm. Mia as well. You could tell her love for travel when she was getting into all the different shows that you were watching on TV with your family growing up. And I could tell that you were all comfortable. Matter of fact, one of my travel times, I might have heard me talk in a earlier speech or table topic about being in the same room with a Russian and an Israeli, and he only spoke Hebrew and Russian, and I only knew English. And he kept saying he wanted me to take a pair of boots and put them on. And I said the word comfortable, and he repeated it to me. And we needed a communication course on that, and I'm totally getting off on a different tangent, but I was so excited to use the word comfortable. And you guys, we were all comfortable in our speeches because of our personal story. One tip, though, is that newer speakers or seasoned speakers, but you're from a city and not a country, there's not a whole lot of difference between a brand new speaker and a city speaker. Or I know Sherry and I are from the suburbs, close to a city kind of, but we might tend to talk, all three of us might tend to talk a little on the faster side. But Sherry, though, was perfect. I wish I could have found something to have something to improve, but she's so good, or she's been around the block, and she's had her business for so long. And I know Mia and myself, maybe we talked a little faster than normal because it's natural for a newer speaker or someone from the city to talk at a faster pace. But Sherry was the model example how to insert pauses, and she did it so naturally. And by having a pregnant pause and forcing yourself to do it makes your audience wonder what you're going to say next. So pauses can be even more powerful. We all, I think, use the word impassioned in our speeches. And even Sherry put in a little question right in the middle, and she said, "Yellow pages, remember those." She slipped in a question. How powerful that engages your audience. Remember those? And then we all instantly raised our hand. You can see how powerful questions are. I'm looking through my notes to see if I had something extra that I wanted to share. Personal story, a tip to improve. I really can't wait to hear more personal stories and really have you touch upon all of the leadership paths instead of us doing icebreakers and getting practice on talking about our passion and what we do to serve the public in our small businesses. So if you know other small businesses, and one way to help us get new members is to ask them if they have some guts to talk for 4 to 6 minutes about their business. I'd love to hear that. I guess I should turn the lectern back over to the general evaluator, which would be me again. So thank you, Paul, for doing the evaluation for all of our speakers. And they know that the personal story is powerful. I can't say it enough. And I can't wait to see you guys in an actual speech contest like you're going to see in August. If you see anything on LinkedIn or look up Toastmasters International and their convention, they're starting their semifinals. Actually, the semifinals is in Philadelphia. So now I'm not sure where the actual convention is, but a simple Google search would do that. Okay, back to the Toastmaster, and or rather, the general evaluator would say, did the evaluator qualify?
Paul,
Yes. Did you say something?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you happen to send me a link to the OMG Biz Cafe for the next demo Toastmasters, like similar today, so that I have two people I would like to invite.
Yeah, the link will be omgtalk.com for guests. So if you're not on Skylar Network already, and you guys see that all your names are underlined, so we have a profile here as well in the Toastmaster community. But that being said, if someone's brand new to this beachside Toastmaster setting, omgtalk.com anybody can get to, and there's only one link there now. It says Paul's Calendly and the whole enchilada. If you tell your friends to click on the whole enchilada, it'll go to my Linktree page, and there's a top link that says Online Cafe 5:30. Click on that link, it'll take them right here. So omgtalk.com, you don't have to worry about finding a link anywhere. Just save that and staple it to your forehead. Yeah, I know you'll look funny if you walked around with a post-it note stapled to your forehead that said omgtalk.com, but I wouldn't mind the advertising. Okay. I can slip in a joke every now and then, even though it's not funny, because Bruce also tells jokes that's not funny also.
Yep. Tell me about it.
Look. Yeah, he's next door, like doing his exercise with that little boxing. Okay. On that note, where are we? So we qualify. Oh, the time. The general evaluator asked if the timer, if everybody qualified that did the evaluations. It was only me that did it, but I came in at 2 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes. What was my time for the?
Yeah, it was. I didn't remember what the timing parameters were.
No,
I just said them, and I
yeah,
didn't remember what they were. So you came in probably longer than you. Then I probably let you go
not two
longer than
minutes, not 2.5, 3 minutes,
it.
three and a half,
Yes, probably 3.5.
3.5. Okay, thank you. I was close then to the maximum allowed time that I was not clapped off, but heavily applauded for the instant recognition of why I come to OMG Biz Cafe Toastmasters.
And I was wrong.
Okay, you were wrong about what?
I didn't remember what the
CT.
timing parameters
Oh,
were.
okay, yeah,
Sorry.
two, 2.5, and three, and that's how you learn. Like so
Right.
now, as a general evaluator, I would call upon the timer, the odd counter, and the word grammarian for the reports. So the timer could tell me how we were on the table topic times and what those were. We were just say everybody qualified, so that when
Everybody qualified.
and then the prepared speeches, where did everybody come for the timing for the speeches?
Everybody was good.
Okay, I mean no, I mean but the speeches were 4 to 6 minutes.
4 to 6 minutes, and yours was 5 to 7,
So you
and
guys
we all
were
fell within the range.
within the range. Okay, gotcha. All right, I won't be a stickler for it. Let's see what else. And now the ah counter. Who was the ah counter now?
Mia.
Mia. So Mia, how do we do with the filler words? Like I didn't hear the bell a lot, but you didn't have to go past one or two. If you heard anything, and that bell kind of helps remind people if you had something to ring next time. But how did we do with the filler words?
With filler words for Cherie, she didn't have any. She was nice and paused, and every word she said, it wasn't filler words. She didn't say or but or anything like that. But Paul, your last speech, you had some filler words, and some of them were this. Um, you said this twice a lot, and I twice a lot, and wanna, and that's all. But for the most part, I felt that you did really good with your first and second speech. The third speech was kind of some filler words. That's all.
Now, I didn't assign you for word grammarian, right? Or did I?
Hey, my evaluation of my.
I did?
I'm sorry. What would you say?
I didn't assign you for word grammarian too, did
What
I?
did you say?
I did not assign you for word grammarian?
No.
Okay. So I guess I take that role,
Did you?
which I did note right away as word grammarian that Mia heavily used the word impassioned a lot. Matter of fact, I have a hunch that all day tomorrow on Tuesday, she's going to be up and down Michigan and Detroit saying impassioned everywhere she goes. And that could happen when you come to Toastmasters. So
Definitely.
thank you for using the word. It also, I
I'm
realized
definitely
too,
saying in my podcast.
yes. And the use of the English language or the use of language and phrases or something that inspires us is another thing that the word grammarian would pay attention to. I think that I just was paying attention to you guys speaking that I really didn't add any extra in the use of time. So I won't say anything more because I know it's 7:15 and we usually try to end at 7, but we did start 15 minutes later. And you guys just love me. So thank you guys for being here 15 minutes later as we come to the conclusion of our seventh, I believe it's the seventh demonstration meeting. I'll have to look in the podcast, which if you go to omgtalk.com and scroll to the very bottom, you could see the past demonstration meetings and see the progress that we're making. Or maybe we're not making any progress. I'm sure in one area or another we're making progress. In another area, I guess that would be needs improvement. And who doesn't needs improvement? So, as I add another filler word to the equation, I will now return the lectern back to the Toastmaster of the evening. So now I'm no longer the evaluator. I am no longer the general evaluator. And now I'm taking a different hat. And now I'm the Toastmaster of the evening. Wow. I could see how it could be challenging doing all the different roles, right? Sherry knows how I feel because last week she had to do it. Your head was probably spinning and it was time to take a nap.
And I'm sure I missed some roles here and there.
And that means that you have something to work on next week. So it's great that nobody in the room knows what you missed. You have your notes and you do the best you can. As the Toastmaster, I will give out the awards and then turn over the meeting to the President Pro Tem. So our awards, Mia Hartman won our table topic. She is our table topic champion of the night. We'll make up a pretty certificate for you to pass around all throughout social media as another way. On that certificate, it might have OMG Talk on there. So that's another place for you to remember how to invite guests here is with that certificate that I print up for you. Thank you, Canva. And then our evaluator, well, it's not fair. I can't have the best evaluator, choose between Paul or Paul or Paul. So I'll bypass. Well, I'll make up a certificate for myself. Wouldn't that be fair? Sure, why not? That way it's only for the purpose of some public relations for our new club to have some other piece of paper go out digitally that says the best evaluator for the evening. Even though I didn't have any competition. Shh, you won't tell anybody, except I just did because we're recorded. All right, so now I'll turn over the meeting to our President Pro Tem, And our president pro tem will actually call on the vice president. Here's another role: the vice president of education, which is one of the 7 club officers of a Toastmasters club in 145 countries. So I'd encourage Mia to put on her bucket list to visit every country where there's a Toastmasters club, because my wife did it so far, and I did it in an English-speaking Romanian club in Bucharest, Romania. And she won Best Table Topics in Bucharest, Romania.
Oh, okay.
And so now the vice president of education, before he turns over the meeting back to the president, yes, she did. The vice president of education, before he turns it over to the president again to conclude and pound the gavel to conclude the meeting officially, the vice president of education will go over the roles for next Monday at 5:30 Eastern time. And the roles next week would be, hey, who would like to do Toastmaster of the evening next week? Who would like to do Toastmaster, table topic master, and do what Sherry did today? And who would like to be general evaluator? So if all 3 of us come back next week, we could all take a different role, or we could take the same role. And if you want to get some practice, it doesn't matter how perfect you are. It just matters that you're willing to take initiative and learn. I'd encourage the 3 of you to take on any of those roles, and we can get you through it. So do you guys want to be brave and do Sherry be Toastmaster of the evening next week, and Mia do General Evaluator, and I'll do Toastmaster? Or do you want to try to do Toastmaster of the evening, Mia, and I'll do General Evaluator?
I would love to do Toastmaster of the evening.
Did you expect that, Sherry? Wow. I'm so glad.
Yes, I did. I actually did expect that, because I see how enthusiastic Mia has been both last week and this week. So I'm not surprised.
Okay, so I'm putting down Mia for Toastmaster of the evening, and Sherry for General Evaluator or Table Topics?
Well, if I do table topics again, it'll be my 3rd week of doing it.
Are you just as excited? Do you want to get a change of scene and do the General Evaluator?
I'll do it if you want me to. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I have the questions already.
I'm putting you down for General Evaluator.
Would you?
And I'm putting you down for Table Topics.
Would you like to switch, Sherry? I could do Table Topics.
Well, you're the Toastmaster of the evening.
Yeah, you would introduce the speakers, and you would also introduce the helper roles, and I'll do all the helper roles, and Sherry does.
Does that mean I don't have to do timer?
Right. I'll do all the helper roles. You could, and I'll take that off your chest. And you could do General Evaluator and Table Topics, and Mia do Toastmaster of the evening. And then anybody that comes as a guest we need 3 speakers. If you invite 3 businesses, we'll have room for 3 only to do 4 to 6 minutes, introduce themselves about why they started their business. When you invite people to do a speech in our club, let them know that guests do not have to speak, but if they would like to, so they don't feel like they're under pressure. That's all. So you could say guests do not have to speak, but if they would like to get a little bit of extra PR for their business, plus they'll get a free gift from our club. They will get a distinguished Toastmaster evaluating their delivery of their speech, which could be highly valuable for them and everybody in the club to be. So I think we got it. Sherry, General Evaluator, Table Topic.
What is the award again?
Oh, the Toastmaster of the day, which would be Mia, would give out the awards at the end. The General Evaluator would return the lectern to the Toastmaster, and you would give out the best evaluator and the best table topic. But the evaluator will be me until I can get another Toastmaster to join our club, like one of the club coaches or club mentors, who has given, when you give a speech 3 times, which technically, I think Sherry has passed 3 speeches. We need to get you to be able to be comfortable to do an evaluation. And I'm sure you could do a great one.
You just made me general evaluator.
Yeah. So as general evaluator, you could do the first evaluation, and I could do the second evaluation. So that way they're not hearing just from one person, because we all have a little bit of different style and personalities. Even though the evaluations are similar style with the Oreo cookie method and the sandwich method. So now we have it. So the Vice President of Education will now turn over the meeting back to the President Pro Tem, and then I will hold up my gavel and I will slam it down, and now the meeting is officially ended. And
Paul and Sarah, the real couple that cares about your Medicare, says that Tony from trcvoiceovers.com is awesome. If you want the best voice on the planet for any Audible project, don't hesitate to reach out to him at Tony@trcvoiceovers.com.